Vikings and transformation, big changes to the team. Hey Vikings fans, the team is going through a real revolution, and two bombshells have caused a stir behind the scenes. Aaron Rodgers on the Vikings? The legendary quarterback has expressed interest in playing for Minnesota. Will this trade happen? Or do the Vikings already have another plan for the future of the position? If you want to stay up to date with everything about the Vikings, subscribe to the channel now and turn on notifications. There's a lot going on, and you won't want to miss any updates. Now, let's understand everything that's going on behind the scenes. End of an era. Vikings say goodbye to center Garrett Bradberry. The Minnesota Vikings continue to reshape their roster in pursuit of the long-awaited Super Bowl. The team, which spares no effort to strengthen key areas, has invested heavily in free agency and made strategic changes. Among these changes, a significant decision was made: the departure of center Garrett Bradberry, a player who, despite his longevity on the team, failed to live up to expectations. Historically, the offensive line has been a point of concern for the Vikings. In recent years, quarterback protection has been the target of criticism and a factor that has compromised the team's performance at crucial moments. To resolve this issue, the board acted quickly and secured two major reinforcements. Will Fries, former Indianapolis Colts guard, who signed a 5-year contract. Ryan Kelly, experienced center and 4-time Pro Bowl selection. Interestingly, Kelly and Fries have already played alongside each other in Indianapolis, which could speed up the adaptation of this new offensive setup in Minnesota. With the arrival of a big name like Kelly, it was clear that Bradberry's days on the team were numbered. Rumors indicated that the Vikings would try to trade him, but with no success in the negotiations, the team decided to release him. The confirmation came last Monday, when the team officially announced his departure. We have released C. Garrett Bradberry. We are grateful for everything Garrett did in his 6 seasons in Minnesota. In addition, reporter Tom Pelissero revealed that Bradberry's release was made with a post-June 1 designation, which means that the Vikings will only have access to the $5.25 million salary cap savings from that date, a time marked by challenges and unfulfilled expectations. When Bradberry was chosen in the first round of the 2019 draft, the expectation was that he would become the pillar of the Vikings' offensive line. The center position requires intelligence, strength, and accuracy, fundamental qualities to guarantee protection for the quarterback and efficiency in the ground game. However, despite his durability and time as a starter, Bradberry never reached an elite level in the NFL. During his 6 seasons in Minnesota, he played in 88 games, all as a starter. Despite the experience he gained, his performances were inconsistent, especially in pass protection, where he often struggled against more physical defenders. Although he had a good year in 2022, his overall performance often placed him at the bottom of the league rankings. His biggest weakness has always been pass protection, a worrying factor for the Vikings, especially in a league where the passing game is becoming increasingly dominant. Still, Bradberry played a key role over the years, being a constant presence on the team's offensive line. His mobility was a plus in the running game, but his lack of strength and technique in pass protection weighed against him. Ultimately, with the arrival of Ryan Kelly, Minnesota opted for a more reliable solution. Despite being released, Bradberry could still find a new team quickly. His track record as a starter and NFL experience make him a viable candidate for teams needing to bolster their offensive line. Minnesota Vikings in doubt about Aaron Rodgers. Coach Kevin O'Connell not entirely convinced. The soap opera involving Aaron Rodgers and NFL free agency continues to gain new chapters. The veteran quarterback, considered one of the league's top talents, initially appeared to have only 2 viable options to continue his career: the New York Giants and the Pittsburgh Steelers. However, the sudden entry of the Minnesota Vikings transformed the dispute and opened up an unexpected scenario. But despite the mutual interest between Rodgers and the Vikings, it appears not everyone in the organization is convinced this is the best move for the future of the franchise. Coach Kevin O'Connell, in particular, is reportedly torn about bringing the 4-time MVP to Minnesota. Initially, the Vikings had another plan to fill the quarterback spot. The team was looking to re-sign Daniel Jones to replace Sam Darnold, who left Minnesota to join the Seattle Seahawks. However, Jones opted to sign a 1-year contract with the Indianapolis Colts, frustrating the front office's plans. Without their initial options, the Vikings began to evaluate other alternatives on the market, and that's when Aaron Rodgers entered the team's radar. On the other hand, Rodgers already seemed to have his future set. He was close to a deal with the New York Giants that would keep him close to his multimillion-dollar mansion in New Jersey and put him on an NFC team lacking stability at quarterback. But the situation changed dramatically when the Pittsburgh Steelers surprised the market by acquiring DK Metcalf. The aggressive move made Pittsburgh an even more attractive destination for Rodgers, leapfrogging the Giants in the race. And then came the big twist. The Minnesota Vikings officially entered the race. Reports indicated that talks within the franchise were serious, and Rodgers himself had expressed interest in playing for Minnesota. The team offers a strong roster capable of fighting for a Super Bowl, which could be the ideal destination for the quarterback to end his career. But by all accounts, Rodgers' enthusiasm is not entirely shared by the Vikings coaching staff. Journalist Michael Silver, from The Athletic, brought revealing information when participating in the Just Your Opinion, Man podcast. According to him, Vikings coach Kevin O'Connell is still not convinced that Rodgers is the best option for the team. O'Connell's doubt also seems to reflect the general sentiment within the organization. During an appearance on ESPN SportsCenter, NFL insider Jeremy Fowler stated that the likelihood of Minnesota signing Rodgers is low. The Minnesota Vikings are kind of on the periphery here. Sources there have told me it's possible they could engage with Rodgers, but the feeling this week probably hasn't been that way. Jeremy Fowler, ESPN. This statement reinforces the scenario of uncertainty within the Vikings. While Rodgers is still considered the best quarterback available, his arrival in Minnesota may not make sense within the team's philosophy. Rodgers has a history of wanting to run his own offense, often changing plays before the snap and challenging coaches' decisions. That behavior could create friction in Minnesota, especially with Kevin O'Connell, who is widely recognized as one of the brightest defensive minds in the NFL. The relationship between quarterback and head coach is critical to a team's success, and there are questions about whether O'Connell would be willing to cede tactical control to Rodgers. This possible conflict could be one of the factors that make the franchise not fully convinced about closing the deal. Additionally, the Vikings have a promising name for the quarterback position, J.J. McCarthy. A first-round pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, McCarthy missed his rookie season with a meniscus injury, but is expected to be ready for training camp. The organization sees great potential in the young quarterback, and O'Connell appears determined to develop McCarthy into a starter for 2025, leaving Rodgers with no room on the roster. With the Vikings showing hesitation, Aaron Rodgers' fate remains up in the air. The Pittsburgh Steelers remain a strong candidate to sign the quarterback, especially after bolstering their offense with DK Metcalf. The New York Giants, despite having lost ground in the race, could still attempt a final move to bring in Rodgers. Meanwhile, Minnesota appears focused on developing McCarthy and ensuring its future is built around a young quarterback who fits into O'Connell's offensive scheme. Unless there's a turnaround, the Vikings probably won't be Aaron Rodgers' next team.